Hello, welcome to No Prize Podcast. This is the Professor Bud Young, and with me, as always, Johnny the Machine Hughes and Lucas. What's up, Lucas?
Pale. What's going on, guys, man? It's going to be an interesting week. Actually, 2 weeks. Look, got a whole bunch of stuff that's going on.
Oh, we got
Dude,
San
yep, yeah,
Diego
yeah.
Comic Con coming up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And also, I do hate to be the bringer of bad news to our friends in the UK.
Uh-oh.
But there is going to be a delay in Marvel Comics and IDW because of an outage at the Hampstead building. So that means that they probably won't be getting comics this week.
Yeah, I don't pick them up every week anyway. It's fine.
So
For those of us that are digital, does that matter?
All right, whatever. Losers.
hey, there's
Yeah.
some people who like having a hard copy, so they could just take it to the bathroom or whatever, and sitting around and reading
Look,
their.
Look. We've had this conversation before, but when Stan Lee himself says, "I like looking at pictures of boobs, but I'd rather hold one in my hand," when he uses that as your metaphor for comic books, you pretty much listen. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Stan. Absolutely. Boob in one hand, comic in the other. Come on.
All right. So big happenings this week in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We had Thor, Love and Thunder drop in the movie theaters, and I know we've all had a chance to see it. And why don't we start with Johnny? How did it go over in jolly old England?
Johnny the Curmudgeon Machine Hughes. This film is the biggest pile of dog excrement that I have ever had the misfortune to have to pay to watch.
Jeez.
It is banal. It is buffoonery. There's no actual genuine comedy in it. Christian Bale is massively underused. When he comes on the screen, the film raises like a million notches. When he's not there, it's just plug and play. There are plot errors, there are plot points. You think to yourself, why? If you think why. If we were going to talk about story specifics, watch out for these spoilers. Then you know what? When Boy Thor, finally goes and meets Gore at the gateway, why doesn't he take Mjolnir with him? Then why does he have to wait for Lady Thor to show up? The whole "my hammer or this hammer" joke was terrible. All the way. It's like I've got a really bad joke for you, but I'm going to keep talking about it and keep using it until you laugh. Dude, there was tears of desperation with this movie. And this movie is so bad, I almost fell asleep in it. Mrs. H had to give me the nudge saying, "Johnny, you're almost snoring." That's how bad this film is. Terrible. Avoid like the plague. And the sooner they put Thor back onto a serious mindset, other than this stuff, is absolutely terrible. I have fear because this guy is going to be starting to do some Star Wars work. Oh man, what's he going to give us? Stormtroopers dancing? Whatever. Well, if Stormtroopers can't dance because they have a misstep.
Question for you, Johnny, since you brought it up. Stormbreaker. Did they in previous films since Stormbreaker got created and was Avengers Endgame, right? Did
Infinity War.
Did Did we think that he was that Stormbreaker was sentient? That had a mind of
No,
its own? This was the
no,
first movie that we've seen that in.
and I don't think it's been even alluded to that Stormbreaker can open up the Rainbow Bridge. I think that power was hinted at that's Thor's power from Ragnarok. You know, he's so powerful he doesn't need a hammer to bring the lightning. He doesn't
Mm,
need his axe to do that. He can do that all by himself, which is a nice convenient plot point for a previous movie that is never used again.
mm,
Never, never used again.
right. Hmm.
Film is just. I mean, my wife loves Thor. Well, my wife loves Chris Hemsworth. Even she hates this movie.
Hmm. Lucas, what did you think of it?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that this movie was not for everybody, right? If you take apart the several different characters that were in this movie, you can tell that they broke off certain parts of the movie for certain people, right? So there is a kids part of the movie, right? Where you got the kids and everything. Hey, and you saw the kids throughout the movie. You're like, oh man, freaking suffered the poor little children, but there's a whole thing for the kids where the kids and the kid children's you crusade and they get theirs, right? And then there's a part of it where well, hey, Marvel and Disney now support the LGBTQ community, and that there's a part of that movie for them. And look, and there was supposed to be the part of the movie for us older dads, right? We're the older dads. We get back our but our bods, man, and the dad bod gets away, but it was kind of a send off for
Mhm.
us, right? Um, because gotta remember, this is Chris Hemsworth's last freaking movie
Good.
as freaking Thor, right? But then they were trying to say, well, no, we're sending him away, but now you've got some of the older gods. We've got Zeus and Hercules, and they're coming to the whole thing, right? So it did what it had to do. It gave everybody their own little thing, and then it says, "Hey, this is where we're going forward." There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs for the comic geeks.
I'd
Uh,
say
you
that
know,
there's shed loads of Easter eggs. Well done, Lucas. That is a good point.
yeah,
Definitely.
there's all types of, uh, it cut out some stuff like, hey, like so here's what I will say, right? There's so much stuff packed in here. They probably should have made this a TV series or gave Lady Thor or Jane her own little
Dr.
TV series.
Foster!
Yeah, Dr. Foster her own little TV series, right? Because look, she had cancer. That's a big piece, right? That's a
Yeah.
big part, right? So it probably would have hit more the emotional stuff that they try to throw in there if we could have seen that as a progression rather than, hey, by the way, no. Or if she probably was in more MCU movies,
Mhm.
and then as in each and every single one, we could have saw like, oh wait, she's getting sicker and sicker, and then you figure hit us, or like, hey, we find out in one, and then that kind of pours into this one. But now it's like, people who don't
I,
read the comics, they just got hit with this, and then they were expected to care about it. And I
I
was like,
would have liked to have seen because Lucas brought up the C word. I would have liked to have seen the cancer being brought on by her exposure to the Rainbow Bridge and being on Asgard and all the stuff that happened to her
right,
to show that there is a ramification that not everybody should be able to just go to Asgard.
yes.
Um, that's what I would
Well,
have liked to have seen,
yeah,
but we
because
didn't.
well, yeah, it's you know what, that is a very very good point because yeah, it was like the dark stuff. I forget exactly
Dark,
what it was.
the Dark World Thor too, isn't it?
Right.
That
Right.
she
Yeah. It was like the dark stuff that was in her, which okay. Now that it's inside of her, now now she has access to Valhalla and Asgard and everything. Yep, got it. Yep, understood. Um, but they didn't really. Once again, they didn't take the time to develop that.
Mm.
But irregardless of all the the very good points that you said, Johnny, irregardless of all that, this was a 10 for me. This is perfect, right? This is a movie that I just went in and everything in my mind just shut off. This is a stupid movie, that I was happy to pay my money for, and I could just shut off my mind, and it was just rock 'em, bock 'em, smash 'em, hit. You know, a little bit of romance for the lady, and then at the end of the day, rock 'em, sock 'em, GoBots, and then boom, and then it was like, okay, well, and then of course you had the little cute little kid thing at the end and everything, right? So that's all I freaking expect out of a
This,
Thor.
Uh,
and I appreciate that, I really do. But I will say this just before Bud jumps in. Sorry, Bud.
No, no,
This is the sort of film
no.
that people who diss people who like comic books will use against us. We're talking about comic book movies should be, popular, should be serious, they should have, have a wide fan base and stuff. Comics aren't just for kids. This movie dispels all that theory. This is
so
for me, this is just, no, I'm
Right, but
so
then
no. It's the
okay,
end for me. This is the end
right.
of the Marvel
So,
superhero
so,
universe. It's like I'm
right,
done. I'm not going to.
right.
I am not going
But
to see another Marvel
right,
superhero
but what
movie.
I will say to counter that is the fact that, so in the midst of all that, the thing that people I have not heard people talk about is the fact that it goes right at the monotheistic, polytheistic, atheistic freaking views, and it goes right at it, and it smashes you in the freaking mouth with it. Like, hey, you think your gods are here to serve us? No, you are here to serve your gods and bully on you to think that at any time that they're going to freaking do what you need them to do. Right? It's that's that, and that is the question in between belief and faith. And it comes in on that freaking that atheistic thing in the beginning, and then when we go to Mount Olympus, or I forget what it's no, omnipotent city, and
mhm.
it freaking smashes you in the mouth. But hey, and here's all the other gods, the polytheistic gods, right? And it smashes you like, hey, and here they are, and oh, you want them to come and save you? Guess what? They're up there. They don't care, right? Because they're not. Once again, they're not here to serve you. They're there to serve themselves. You're just a part of the
Talking about
machine.
scheduling the next orgy, that was my favorite.
Exactly, right? So I mean, look, for you are absolutely right. There's going to be some freaking mouth breather out there that's going to say, "Man, freaking comics," but they're going to be missing the point because they're like me. They just want to see Rock'em Sock'em Go Box with a little bit of freaking John Wick, and they're not going to get that this movie.
All right. So I'm going to piggyback on both of you. So yes, I think so. This is a definitely shut your brain off movie and watch it, because if you think about it too hard, you'll hate it, just like I think Johnny and I did. Um, but the one you're thinking about, the Rock'em Sock'em, to take your brain out of your head and put it, that was Ragnarok. Ragnarok was that. And that was the one that was actually kind of funny. And I think there's some definite things missing in this movie that would have helped this out. Tom Hiddleston is not in this movie at all. And that is a crime, I think. And there are, I think, a
Okay.
lot of crimes in this movie. Uh, but and I'm going to try to touch on both of them, or not both of them, but all of them before I think we have to move on to talk about Ms. Marvel. But there is a criminal lack of Christian Bale. Johnny brought that up. This movie, Gore the God Butcher, is supposed to be. I mean, it's in the name, God Butcher. We saw him kill one god in the 5 minutes prior to the credit scene in this movie, and then he didn't kill anybody else in the entire film. He shows up on Earth, and Thor and Jane Foster hand him his ass. Pretty much, he doesn't do anything else except kidnap little kids. He's like the Darth Vader in this movie. And
So
for
can you
someone
catch her from what you call him? Oh, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That's what he is.
it's there was to me there was just no level of threat exhibited, except for the first 3 minutes of the movie where you kind of get his motivation, and then it's by the end of the movie where he kind of sacrifices himself to bring his daughter back. Was just like it just made him not omnipotent but impotent to me at at the end. And so I kind of like at the end I just didn't care. And the fact that they basically, with Taika Waititi tied to this movie, obviously billed as a comedy, right? Ragnarok, I think, was kind of funny on the level of Guardians of the Galaxy, and to kind of deserve to kind of be what it was. And this was just so forced to try to attempt to have that again, to the point that you had the Guardians of the Galaxy in the first 5 minutes of the movie that were wasted, in my opinion. And with Taika Waititi, with his absolute the ego that he had to just put Korg in there for the, as far as like the being the joke sidekick buddy to Thor, at the expense of Christian Bale. Where from what I understand is that there's a director's cut out there that's like 4 hours long, that included tons more of Christian Bale killing gods in other worlds and more Guardians of the Galaxy, which all of this ends up on the cutting room floor so we can have more Korg making jokes. And the biggest crime in this movie is trying to have this humorous undertone with Jane Foster's cancer being such of a main plot line in this movie. That's not funny. Cancer's not funny. You can't make a joke. And the other crime is having the only scene Kat Dennings isn't in this movie, have her sitting next to Jane Foster while she gets chemo. That and that's not a comedic scene. And Kat Dennings is one of the best comedy actors in the MCU. So to me, I was like, I looked at that.
You're talking about the scene where she draws on the book?
No, the hospital where she's
The
getting
hospital scene where she's getting the chemo and Kat Dennings is just sitting there and was like, they talked about Thor for a minute, but then she's not in it for the rest of the film.
Yeah, okay.
And
Gotcha.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about the whole cancer thing.
and then the whole LGBT thing, which is fine. I'm fine with Valkyrie and everything, but I feel like she was just extra in this movie. Like she didn't need to be there, and the only reason she was there was to satisfy a certain segment of the audience. And and of course the rainbow bridge is a metaphor of the whole LGBT thing, right? So just the usage of all of that, it just seemed like there was just so many of these kind of subliminal messages sent out. And the don't get me started about the goats. They were
the best bit. The goats and gore were the best bit.
But I don't think that they were funny. I think it would have been funny for the first 5 seconds with them screaming like regular goats, but they should have talked or something. Or they should have.
My wife picked up a couple of points. I'll just give her a quick shout on this one. There's so many scenes that are exactly the same from other movies. When Korg gets killed, and oh look, there's his face. That's just Baby Groot again. It's what it is. The kids jumping into the attack. It's the same scene when Thor jumps on the attack. Is it Ragnarok where he's on the Rainbow Bridge? He jumps in, hammer in hand.
Yeah.
Just there's just so many. It's like, this worked last time. It's going to work again, and that's the problem. That's the problem with Marvel movies across the board. They are plug and play. DC movies might not make as much money as Marvel movies, but at least they try different tones. They tried Joker, Birds of Prey, The Batman, Shazam, Batman versus Superman. All these are different tones of movies. You can't argue against the idea of trying something new. And plug and play, just for me, no, thank you.
I was just going to bring something else up, and then
sorry,
it just escaped me, but that's fine. So yeah, no, I do agree with you on some points as far as like, this movie I do feel like we've seen before. There wasn't anything really new and fresh about this. I had such high hopes for Christian Bale, and when the moments that he's on the screen, he does take over the film, right? But he's not in it enough. And I just, like I said, I just didn't feel like at any point in that movie that there was any kind of a level of threat to Thor. And I think that Jane Foster's cancer was more of a villain in this movie than Gore the God Butcher was. So, but anyway, all right. So, better luck next time. The next Marvel movie film that we'll be talking about will be Black Panther 2 coming out on November 11th.
Just as a heads up, I didn't like the first one. So
The first
just
Black Panther, yes,
yeah.
we remember that. So
Sorry.
we'll look forward to more of the
I
same.
like him. I thought it was eminently watchable, but story wise, nope.
All right, so let's move on to Ms. Marvel that had its final episode over this week. Now, I know Johnny's not watching this in protest because
Well, I'm not watching it in protest. I wish people would stop sort of like giving ideas to why I'm not watching the show. I'm not watching the show because it doesn't interest me.
right.
It's not aimed at me, and therefore I don't watch soap operas because they're not aimed at me. I don't watch hockey because hockey doesn't interest me. I don't watch basketball. You know, it's fine. But I will say this: my only comment on this before everyone goes nuts, and I can take 5 minutes out for 2 minutes. As I said, ironically, my maths isn't working great. Can the real Miss Marvel please stand up? Is she Kamala Khan? Is it Negabands? Is she clandestine? Is she an X-Men? All these great ideas are floating around. They have no idea what to do with the character apart from not use her original origin. There you go. I'm done. Next, you guys talk about this
All
for a
right,
while. I
Lucas,
know
what
Lucas will have strong points on this one. I'm sure.
were your thoughts on Ms. Marvel before I tell Johnny why I liked it?
Yes, I mean, look, I mean, so what he's just talking about is exactly the situation what they were trying to bring up. Like, hey, this is the story that freaking tells you like who she is, right? The Bengal was like who she is, right? It tells the story of her family, where she comes from, like her ethics, her morality, and everything. So like so when she's put in a dark spot, like, what does she do? Does she just run away and just try to do her own thing, or does she take the time out, to help people, and fight against evil? And when it's like 7 against 1, what does she do, right? So, and that's what it came down to this one, and deconstructed like, okay, in the beginning, this is where she got her power from. Now we're not sure, and now she's in this other whole thing. So here's what's interesting about what the MCU is doing right now. Before, the MCU, when was explaining powers, it would just hand everything to you on a freaking silver platter. Now it's saying, okay, here's this thing. If you want to know more, you're going to have to go to the comics to figure out what in the heck is going on, right? So, for instance, like, hey, the Bengal is from the Nord Division. Now you got to figure out what the Nord Division is, because look, the Nord Division is connected to Fantastic Four, is connected to Null and the Gore and the thing that we were just talking about. And if anybody had any questions about what I was talking about, they just showed it to you in this one at the very end, with her going off to another dimension. She went off to the North dimension, and you're like, okay, well, what happened in the North dimension? Once again, you got to go back and read, and you'll figure out, well, now she's going to get Storm Ranger, which is like the evil version of her suit, that's going to eventually try and kill her. Right, and apparently that's where Captain Marvel has been for a while, because apparently they switched places. So, um, I get it. A lot of people don't like it. Everybody hates it, but I will not take from anybody else saying, "Well, it's the lowest rating thing." Well, guess what? It's the summertime.
Mm.
People got shit to do, right? What's not on my list is like sitting around freaking watching TV. What is high on my list? Sitting outside in the sun on my deck getting drunk, right? Not watching this, right? And 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 here's what I will get at MCU for, or the Marvel, on the directors, right? Okay, you're releasing this during the summertime. You know what my kids don't want to watch is a kid in school. They don't want to remember that school is right around the corner, right? If you want to release this while she's in school, do it in September. Don't do that while my kids are freaking trying to play Xbox all day, if we could just enjoy this. Don't do that, right? But look, it's got its own little thing with the teenagers and their own little thing. But then there's the thing for us is the whole thing of parents, right? Where we got it, we love our kids and everything, but at some point, We got to realize that our kids do have capabilities, and if we did teach them right, you know, we got to let them go. Because in fact, I talked to the whole bunch of guys last night, and they was like, "Well, we don't like, that, before the parents didn't let her do that and this and that and the other thing. Now all of a sudden, now that she's got parents, they let her. That's because that's parenting. That's what being a parent is all about. If you can, like, if you really taught them right and you gave them a good freaking table of morals and ethics, you got to freaking let them go and do their own thing. I'm still a little itchy about them letting Kamala just run around with all these little boys and everything. Because I remember when I was a little boy about that age, I know what I was trying to do to
Oh
every
yeah.
little girl. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the only thing that freaking sets me apart. They still got a little tweaking to do in this whole cultural thing, but once again, I still thought it was okay.
So I agree with you, Lucas. I also agree with Johnny a little bit. So the thing I didn't like about this was the fact that of her power set just being so far different and her origin changing so much from the original comic. And you can't look at the Ms. Marvel side of the character and say that this is the same Ms. Marvel that I've been reading about for the last 10 years in the comic book, because it's not. She's not an Inhuman. They don't even bring up Inhumans in this show.
Right.
The power definitely just is derived from the nega bands, which the bangle, which they haven't really officially called the nega bands yet. But what they did sufficiently enough is they threw out enough possible origin story type. Like, that's what I was kind of joking about at the end of the show. Is she a Jinn? Is she a clandestine? Is she an Inhuman? Is she a Kree?
Yes.
Is she a
Well,
Kree warrior, or is
right.
she a mutant? Which they
I'm glad.
said
Yeah.
she was in the end.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to bring that up. Is hey, look, that's what this whole Axe event, the Avengers X-Men Eternals book's about. Because now they've already planted, started trying to plan in our minds that, hey, there's X-Men and then there's Eternals and there's mutants and everything, but somewhere along the line they were actually kind of the same, right? So remember, I think it's like something like the deviants, once they eat an Eternal, then they become a little bit more human-like. At
mhm.
some point, one of the deviants mated with an actual human, and those in that line became the mutants that we know today. So that the Axe event is going to go more into that.
Let me just ask you a quick question then, just to intercede just a little bit. All right.
Mhm.
Of the people who watch the Miss Marvel TV show, how many of them do you think are actually going to go to a comic book store to pick
Zero,
up Ask?
zero.
So then, what's the point?
Everybody's
What's the
trying to
point?
look. Even the speculators right now, they're trying to dump off their books. They're trying to
So
sell every
it's
single freaking book they got.
this is the problem with cross media, and I've said this before. It's all well and good having a movie presence or a TV presence or whatever, but if you manage to get one person to go into the comic book store to pick up the comic that represents the Miss Marvel show or the Thor movie or whatever, and you find that the book is dramatically different, you've
Yeah.
wasted all that synergy. You'd, the professor's always on us about the fact there's no Avengers in the Avengers book, right? You go and watch Endgame, and then someone goes, "Oh, look, all these Avengers, this will be great. I'm going to go and buy the new Avengers comic." Good luck with that.
Yeah.
You know,
There's-
I
So,
made the
put,
same argument about Black Panther. Yep.
yeah, well, putting little seeds in about, oh, go and read the Axe event because that's going to help with the TV show. TV show viewers don't care. They don't care what's going on in the comic books. They don't.
So let me just get into my point where I feel like
Sorry.
maybe Johnny should give this show a shot if he can get past the whole
Why
superhero
do I have to
part of
give
the
the
show.
shot? Why do I have to give this show a shot? I've watched.
because
I've
because
watched. I've watched it. I
you
don't like it. Move on.
because when you read Spider-Man, your favorite bits are the Peter Parker bits, right? Because you
Correct.
want Peter Parker to be a central figure in your Spider-Man experience. In
Correct.
this Ms. Marvel show, they do Peter Parker better than Peter Parker. This is the Kamala Khan part of this show. really is the reflective over your whole experience of the show.
Perfect.
The family aspect, the Kamala Khan having problems with the boyfriend. Who does she like? Who likes her? The whole school aspect. That whole angle is perfect,
Right.
and they get it so well. And
So let me just counter your point just a little bit.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt, right? It's all right for Luke's kids not to watch this because it's about a kid at school and they're on the summer holidays, right?
Sure.
Why is it okay? Why is it not okay for a 51-year-old bloke to turn around and say, "I do not want to watch a show about school kids"?
Oh,
why
no,
am I getting grief for this?
I'm using no. I'm just using the angle.
This is the second show in a row. People are saying I should do something. I've watched the show. I did not like it.
I'm just using the angle of the Peter Parker Spider-Man versus the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel.
I get that, and I like Peter Parker
Yeah.
because Peter Parker. I've lived part of Peter Parker.
Right.
I'm now past the point of wanting to live my school days again. I don't watch Saved by the Bell anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't watch Hang Time anymore because that is,
If you want to watch the impact of the English Empire on the Pakistani Indian split, this is the show for you.
Okay. And if I don't want to watch that, then I'm just going to take flack for it week after week. All right.
We say how the English Empire abandons their children. I get it.
So this was.
I didn't say anything about the English Empire. Remember, you guys kicked us out, not the other way around. And before we start talking about the English Empire, let's not forget the Americans celebrate how great we are in July and how great we were for subjugating a native species in November. All right. So before we get into this, just mind that. Keep that.
Hey, it was all about the parrot tax. You know how Ricky, you
tell that to the Native Americans. Tell that to the Native Americans. November.
We come home. We come home for Halloween, and your parents take all your candy and everything. That's what 4th of July is really all about. We didn't want to get the parent tax anymore. Come on, Mom, Dad, leave us out. All right.
So I'm just gonna say that angle was the saving grace for me in the show. Was the whole secret identity family angle. How does she keep the secret identity, as you realize that she doesn't by the end of the show, which is my only problem with it really, because it's like there is no such thing as a secret identity anymore in superherodom. Everybody knows. But I like the show for what it was. I kind of looked the other way with the origin type stuff, and even then it kind of kept me guessing because they did use the MacGuffins from the actual Marvel universe, like the Negabands and all that. And then with that stinger at the end where she switches place with Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel just pops in to her bedroom and sees her like pictures all over the wall, and was like, what the F? So I actually kind of thought that was pretty cool. So I'm interested in seeing more of her, but I hope that she gets a season 2, because we get to see more of I would say the Kamala Khan aspect of the character. And I think the actress is fantastic. I think she's great. So, but okay, on that note, let's take a break and then we'll come back and we'll actually talk some comics. So let's do that.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
I forgot that ad was just me dancing.
Super chats. If you donate money to Comic Crusaders, you will have the professor dancing all the time. I'm telling you, sir.
Only to that tune.
Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show. It's my second favorite podcast. Besides this one.
Okay.
Besides this one. All right. So let's talk some comics. We had some comics drop this week, including the very important what's being called the final act of the Chip Zdarsky run on Daredevil is a brand new #1. So let's talk Daredevil, and I just would say let's didn't the new Batman come out with Chip Zdarsky writing as well?
Yes, the week before. Yeah.
So tie that in, because I'm sure you read that Batman.
Yeah.
Did anything get watered down since he's
Nope.
writing Batman and Daredevil?
The only thing, right, so stats, what we'll go through the stats. Chip
Go ahead,
Zdarsky, Marco Cicchetto, yeah, whatever. Matthew Wilson's on colours. Clayton Cowles is, of course, on letters. I personally prefer Rafael De La Torre work on the backup story over Cicchetto, or however you pronounce it. I apologise if I've butchered your name twice. I don't think anything's been watered down. I think this is very much this is a lay your table type of book. I have no idea why Spider-Man's in there, considering Spider-Man's troubles in his own book don't particularly show him as a team player at the minute. I think the language and the version of Daredevil is pretty consistent with Zdarsky's last run, as well as the Devil's Reign storyline. For me, the saving grace is Elektra. Definitely. I'm absolutely in love with the Elektra as Daredevil character. So the backup story for me works better than the main story. Gotta say, that's a great cover. So there you go. The Batman, if anyone's interested, the Batman book's damn good as well. So there you go.
Well, that's what I was just going to say about the cover, because you could have Batman on that cover and it would look like a good cover too.
Yeah. I thought the cover was by David Finch when I first looked at it, but it absolutely totally isn't. But,
the problem is there were 10 Daredevil covers this week.
Oh.
And you know which one that the speculators picked up, cared about? Not a single freaking one. Nobody cared about this book. Nobody cared about this book. You know, it was like,
I wonder why. I wonder why, because this book was arguably the best book in the last year and a half, right? I mean, so why wouldn't anybody care about a new number one for this book?
Because there's been too many number ones.
I think it's because it's more of the same. Sorry, Lucas. You're absolutely right as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you go back to the well over and over and over again with number ones, we stop caring, right? Just keep the legacy numbers. Well, you got say legacy number 649. Just put that up top, right? And then freaking let us know. I mean, you could say, hey, this is issue number 2 of whatever storyline, or issue number 4 or 5 of whatever storyline. That's fine, but keep that legacy number up top, because issue number 1, you're killing us. You're freaking killing us. Nobody cared about. Especially there was no first appearances. Now there was a new revelation about one of the characters. That was pretty interesting. The guy that he apparently went to law school with. I forget what his name. Stinky, groggy.
I think it's like Samuel Goldman or something.
Samuel Goldman. Oh, geez, that's a lawyery freaking, Jewish name if I've ever heard one, man.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's this guy's name? I forget.
But it's not first.
Sorry, it's Robert Goldman.
Robert Goldman.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that guy who he went to law school with, he and Frog went to law school with, now he's some type of weird guardian angel who light emits from him, and apparently Daredevil can now hear light. Apparently, I didn't know that was a thing, but okay. That was it. That was it. That was the basic crush of why I would care about this book. Like, hey, there was a guy who came out 2 years ago. Now he's a thing.
Yeah.
And then, but I do like the way they set it up. Right? Like, okay, once again, what I love. I love. Hey, there's a mission. There's something that the character has to do. He's got a limited amount of time that he's got to freaking do it. But in the meantime, there's all these real life things that are in his way, like Spider-Man's in his freaking way. There's a robbery. There's a dude who gets shot in the streets of New York. That's real scale to me. Like, look, so Daredevil, he wants to stop he stops and everything, and then that ends up making him fail his mission. Perfect. Boom, 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 let's get out of here, right? But that's not worth 10 covers for Daredevil. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's, I think that there really wasn't that much of a difference between the last issue of the last run and this first issue. I don't see any reason why this has to be a brand new #1 jumping on point for new readers type of book. Because, like, if we compare it to a couple of months ago when the new Spider-Man book dropped and it was Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., you were dropped into that book going, "What the heck is going on in this book?" This book just felt like the next issue of Daredevil, continued from the last issue, where you're just kind of like, I know Johnny just said kind of like resetting the table, but it's really kind of like it's all the same characters. We have Matt, who is supposedly dead now, so he's masquerading as Mike. Big whoop, right? But
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 then he
now
goes
you
around
have,
and tells everybody, like, come on, man. Like,
right, but yeah, and then you have Butch, the Kingpin's son, who takes over. So basically, we see him kind of chess piece moving into the Kingpin role.
Which
But
we
that's
saw in Devil's Reign as well, to be fair, didn't we?
right. I mean, and here it's just kind of, this is going to be the new status quo going forward, and he's going to probably be the new bad guy. But then of course they do introduce Robert Goldman, who you're kind of wondering a little bit about, but not enough for, is he the new Purple Man? Is what I'm kind of thinking. Is he the new kind of threat that's going to run throughout the whole series? And then the other thing I'm wondering is, how long is this run going to go? Because they announced at the end of this book that this is Chip Zdarsky's final run on Daredevil, or the third act of his run. So this is it. How much does he have left in the tank, especially if he's expending much more energy doing Batman as well? Because I imagine those, I mean, it is kind of right in the same character almost, so the same kind of
What?
it's like same kind of level. It's the same kind of,
That's
I know. I knew saying that Johnny was going to have a problem with it. But
they're not the same character at all.
it's,
At all.
it's kind of the same genre.
Daredevil's
It's
more
kind of
Spider-Man than anything else.
It's kind of noirish. It's kind of detective-y. It's kind of, street level baddie.
thing with
There's a
Batman
lot of
is
similarities.
Batman can work across the board. He can work in noir. He can work in slapstick in a way that Thor can't. He can win in different ways. Daredevil's just one tone all the way. In fact, Daredevil, you could argue, is tone deaf.
Just
Here all week, don't get tippy waiters.
yeah.
I enjoyed the book. I thought
it was great. I do think now. I'm wondering, is going forward, is it going to be a split book like Tales of Suspense or something, where you get Matt in half the book and Elektra in the other half? Because we saw that in this book where we kind of get like a backup story. But I kind of think the stuff that's happening in the Elektra side of the book is more important than what's happening in the other half of the book. So, I think that eventually, obviously they're kind of going to mix at the end, but I'd like to see it going forward, have like half the book is Matt and half the book is Elektra, and see where that goes. And who knows, maybe that's why it justified a new #1. But anyhow, I just think this was just a continuation of the last issue. It wasn't enough going on for me to justify the new #1.
Cool. Fair point.
All right. So let's move on down to what else are we going to talk about?
Fantastic Four, you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Let's go into the Fantastic Four, which is the final episode of Reckoning War. And this is the final wind down to Dan Slott's run on the book. The big change in this book was it has kind of a guest artist of Farid Karami. And then we have Jesus Alberto color art. Letter is Joe Caramagna, and the editors, if you want to blame them for what's going on, Martin Biro and Elise Bisa and Tom Brevoort. This is another thing. I think when we talked about Fantastic Four last time, we were talking about how chaotic it was with all this different plot lines kind of smashing into each other, and this kind of is the same. with the final ending. This is the wrap up to Reckoning War, and you kind of get some bits of payoff from everything. We see the Thing finally returning to Earth, but he's alone, which kind of makes you wonder what happened to everybody else. And then, of course, they explain what happened to everybody else. And, with the exception of, I would say, Johnny Storm, there's not really any kind of lasting change, maybe going forward. But there's tons of characters in this book to keep track of. And most of them kind of just wrap up. But anyway, the highlights are, so now the Watchers are all dumb. They can't watch anymore. They can't see anything. And turns out towards the end of the book that Uatu, the original Watcher, regains his powers plus some. So he gets leveled up. So now he can see all of the what if realities, possibilities going forward. And he's the only one. So now he's the only Watcher going forward. He restores basically everything. So he's basically would you say that he kind of got upgraded to like Beyonder type level powers?
I don't think so. I think he's just been put back to where he actually was in the first place. Surely, God, the idea of the Watcher can see what ifs anyway. That he was always the linchpin of the book. To me, this book was just a great big like. I don't know what it is about modern comic book writers, right? The setups, and this isn't just a Dan Slott thing. This is a Scott Snyder thing and a whole host of others. The setup of the story is fantastic. The setup gets you bought into the book. Oh my God, things are going to happen. Things are going to change. Oh my God. It's just a big reset button and everything stays the same. It's this sort of writing mentality that kind of bores me out of comics, because I think I was with you on this. I was quite enjoying this Reckoning War, and when they got to the bit where like, oh my God, the fate of the universe, I actually believed it. I was like, come on, let's do so. I was like, yes, that's how good Slott writing actually was as a setup stage. Punchline, dude's not funny. It's like, so what? Everyone's back the way they were, apart from Johnny, who has left the Fantastic Four again. Like, really? Do I care that much? Do I?
There were a couple of other subtle changes too, where so you have Franklin, who's, well, I guess Franklin's back to normal, right? Because Franklin he powered himself back up.
He's got black hair.
And now that's permanent. That was a permanent change. Valeria became actually smarter. So she actually built her own Forever Gate, which to me might actually level her up past Reed Richards' knowledge, right? So that to me means maybe Valeria might be someone to watch down the line. Then of course, everybody else, they restored Galactus, they restored Jack of Hearts.
They restored the Silver Surfer as a herald of sorts to Galactus.
Right. And so now that was another thing that actually comparatively, which they talked about the barrier, which was I guess the border of the universe, right? And now the Watcher restored now what Dr. Doom says is 9/10 of the universe that he reclaimed. And they call the Barrens, and it's now be called the Borderlands. Now, to me, that really kind of smacked of the Green Lantern, the wall there. What's that called?
The Source Wall.
The Source Wall. It sounds like the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Source Wall and the barrier of the Borderlands. Yeah. So to me, that concept of having that barrier broken down and sending Galactus and the Silver Surfer out into that, I think that was a setup for a new series. I think if they could relaunch Silver Surfer, that would be cool. Have him introduce a bunch of new stuff, but have him teamed up with Galactus. I thought that would be pretty cool to read about on a monthly basis. Just me. And they also set up Nick Fury, who is now back on the moon as kind of the unseen, but what do they call him? The Earth's shield, humanity's shield. And they actually have him standing on the shield logo. And I actually thought that was pretty cool too. So, I'd be interested in seeing something on that end as well. So I kind of, I want to give him like a B minus for this. I know sticking the landing is so hard to do, but to be able to set some stuff up to come is interesting. You kind of want to set the table for the next writer, but we've seen so many times the writer just ignores what's coming up
Yep.
or ignores what's coming before. So I don't know.
That was going to be my point. It's all right
Yeah.
setting the table, but who's going to rock up to eat there?
Well, that's true. Lucas, what did you think?
I didn't think anything about this, right? I mean, it's got so many parts. It's just, hey, here's a whole bunch of stuff, and here's a whole bunch of stuff, and here's a whole bunch of BS, and here's a bunch of BS, and
I'm
guess
with
what? You're going to spend a bunch of money on this, and none of it's going to matter at the end of the day. And that's fine, right? That's what summer events are for. I'm all about that. Hey, summer events, you're trying to get people in the door to freaking read the comic books. Just go ahead, just go nuts. All these little multiverse things, yeah, fine. Let's go freaking nuts. Just throw a whole bunch of stuff at us. But don't say, hey, there's a whole reckoning war and then nothing happens, because at the end of the war, somebody's got to lose. And nobody lost anything in this. In fact, Johnny's got his wife back. Like you said, old boy son has got his powers back. People. The only Reed's the ailment where his head was about to explode and he was going to freaking die. He gets freaking healed
by using the ultimate nullifier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, war is supposed to be painful. You're supposed to never have to want to go through war. But it seems like everybody came out the better for it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, man. Freaking, if you're gonna, hey, let's say the skirmish, all right, or the incident, that's fine. Don't use the word.
The reckoning argument.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally all it was. It was literally a bunch of watchers arguing about some stuff that they did in the past, and now they're okay. They lost their sight. Okay, that's about it.
Maybe they could see the light like Daredevil now.
Yeah. It turns out that there's the nebulas, right? There's like the nebula of all portals, which is something I've been tracking for a while. But now there's a nebula of nebulas out there, and it's all in the Watcher's homeworld. They kind of freaking skipped over that. Nobody freaking closed that. The Forever portal is back. That's a freaking thing now. It's just like, okay, they went crazy. And I'm more interested in what they should have gave me. They should have gave me a freaking one shot and showed me how Moon Knight and freaking Squirrel Girl
there you go. Yeah.
freaking blew up a planet by themselves. But
okay. I read that and I was like, that sounds like a tie-in book that didn't get published.
Yeah. That would have been cool. Squirrel Girl freaking defeats them all. Okay, show me.
Yeah.
It felt like this was a hodgepodge of characters that they don't know what to deal with. And they were like, okay, let's just throw them in it. But here, I do have a question. We got the Moon Girl thing, right? Moon Girl's out there. She's out there in space. How come they didn't just throw her in this for a little bit? Huh? Right? They could have thrown her. I mean, they love throwing little black girls and black guys out in space. Throw them in this freaking thing. That would have been cool.
All right.
But
all right. So yeah, it looks like a mixed bag on that issue, huh? So some good, some bad, but generally nothing that's going to change our lives at all.
Which is a shame. Because Slot promised so much, but hey ho.
For sure. Let's look. Let's look at Captain Marvel, and then
quickly.
We'll quickly look at Captain Marvel, issue number 39. So this was by Kelly Thompson and art by Juan Frigeri and Alvaro Lopez, color artist Jordi Belair, letters by VC's Clayton Cowles, and the people you blame for this is Anita Okoye, Sarah Brunstad, and Tom Brevoort. Johnny, what happens in this issue that is worth reading?
So essentially, as we all know, Captain Marvel, in one of her previous battles, has created an alternative binary. Cap has a run-in with a council of magic users and is punished for how she's treated Ove. And Binary replaces Binary's looking for an identity. She replaces Captain Marvel as Carol Danvers as well as Binary. Guest starring Spider-Woman and a whole host of other people. This book just continues to be Marvel's most consistent book for me. You know, the writing's fun, the fish out of water element with the Binary character and how she interacts with the Carol's regular people. The only thing that would make this book even funnier, and this is true comedy element rather than buffoonery, it would be nice if Rhodes had hit on her, you know, because it's like, hey, Carol, and then, you know, that would have just caused all sorts of crazy. Who knows? It might happen in a couple of issues' time, whatever. The art styles are dramatically different. Whilst I appreciate the main Carol story and the ramifications of that, I did not enjoy the art of those panels at all. The Binary art is the Binary part of the story. The art's bang on. Yeah, I think if you want superhero books that actually feature the title of the characters actually in the book, then don't think you can go wrong with this book at all.
I didn't like the cover. I think the cover looks like the first page, the recap page when you open the book. I actually thought when I looked at it, I was like, did we get the cover? I didn't think it was the cover.
I mean, they're doing this quite a lot. I mean, isn't this style also used for recent X books with the whole expose of the resurrection?
Yeah.
So I know I like the idea that the Daily Bugle is such a mover and a shaker. Why can't we give it some recognition?
Mm.
Yeah,
Lucas, what did you think of this book?
Magic. Look, very quickly, this was a book to remind everybody that there's magic and there's more magic on the way. Agatha Harkness has a thing coming. More Strange Academy. There's more of that coming. This was all about the magic, and I guess they want to kind of finely tune and say like, oh, this is how kind of magic kind of works and everything. Did they need to do it in a Captain Marvel book? No. But you know what? If you don't know what to do with Captain Marvel, fine. Go ahead, put her in the freaking whole magic thing. That's fine.
I mean, it was a story a while back where she was using magic to try and
Captain Marvel 30 through like 32 or something like that.
Yeah, so you know there is precedent, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just that. Well, see, what made me upset about that storyline is that they just kind of dropped that whole thing. It was interesting. Like, okay, against all odds, she decides to learn magic and everything, and it was like, okay, now she's got the magic thing, and then okay, ready, drop everything, let's go do something else, and then now they're bringing it back, and it's like, okay, that's weird, but okay, let's see where they're going with it. I do like the characters that they're bringing in this, and I want to see where they're going, but I know my heart might be broken, and that they'll get it revved up, and then they'll just drop it again to be forgotten. So.
We'll see. I like the Captain Marvel book just because it just seems like it's like Johnny said, very consistent. You kind of know what you're getting. I'm not a huge fan of all the different Captain Marvel type characters running around, like Binary and then Laurel Ann or whatever her name is with the Kree Sentry wrote the Accuser. Different, just different things going on. I do like that they incorporate Spider-Woman into this book because they are like best buddies, and and I think Spider-Woman works as a sidekick.
Well,
character.
let me drop you a little word to the wise, as they say. If you check out the most recent Outside the Panels, I interviewed Dennis Hopeless, who was the Spider-Woman writer a while back, and you all know how much I love that book. And I asked the question: should Carol and Jess be an item? And his answer was,
tune into the podcast.
Well, you know what? Yeah, no. He was like, yeah, Marvel are going to have to go and do that because there's a huge, massive part of the audience who read Spider-Woman and Captain Marvel who are crying out for this, and it could be Marvel's version of Harley and Ivy, to be fair. And we all know how popular those are.
And that would be the
Yeah.
first type of like major, or what to say, major characters that they would put together, right?
And
Sexual
it's been done naturally. It's done naturally. If you go
Yeah.
all the way back to Avengers Annual 10, they have a relationship back then. At the end, the book ends as they're holding hands as they're walking around the swimming pool. You know, there's history there. It's not just like, oh, let's just make a character gay for shits and giggles. It's like it's a natural progression. You can see how much these characters love each other and interact well with each other. So there you go. Check out the podcast. Dennis was fantastic. What a good guest.
Look, that's not even the most important part. That's not even no. The most important part is what type of freaking heathen communist drinks coffee while eating a freaking sandwich. That is absolutely freaking terrible. You, sir, need to go to jail. You need to go to jail, sir.
Trust me. The way this podcast is going, I'm going to jail for a whole lot of reasons.
Coffee is acidic, and you are ruining the taste of your sandwich.
Oh,
Do not pass go. Do not pay $100. You just go straight to jail, sir. That is
all right. Let's wrap this up. Let's do 2-minute warning. What do we got coming up?
Let's go. 2-minute warning time.
Let's see. Going through. I want to get to some of the good stuff. I didn't have enough time to block out everything, but let's see what we got. There was actually some interesting stuff from some of the other publishers.
Everyone can pause as you find out what about all these books are.
There
we are. Go back.
I feel like Clockwork Orange. Like I was just getting like
Yeah.
images flashing.
You will love Marvel. You will love Marvel. You must
Ghost
watch
Rider.
this Marvel. You must watch this Marvel.
Yes, sir. Ghost Rider second print. Amazing Spider-Man number 5 second print.
Great book.
Great book.
Amazing Fantasy 1000. That's going to be on. Once again, these are some of the books that are on FOC. Amazing Fantasy 1000. The one to look out for is that Diamond Previews has one that is limited to 5,000 copies. Avengers BC coming out 3 weeks. More Captain Marvel. I do like that Predator joint over there.
I like the go back, please. I do like the binary cover. Do love that binary cover.
And did you notice that at the end of Miss Marvel, in her room, there was a lot of different images about binary. So I bet
there's no pictures of the swimsuit Miss Marvel in there.
No, I don't think there was.
So we think binary is going to be in the Marvels movie.
Oh, most definitely, in some way or form. Yeah. Some more Daredevil. The Edge of Spider-Verse. First appearance of Spider UK, I believe.
What's the spoiler cover?
My God,
we don't know yet. That's the thing. It's a spoiler. So we're not gonna find out about it until it actually comes out.
Spider UK, Johnny.
Hit spiders.
You're gonna take ownership on that?
Yeah, I'll have a look at it. God knows what I'm going to think about it, right? But she's wearing thigh highs, so that's got to be good, right?
Hulk Banner War. Some Iron Cat action. Miss Marvel, Moon Knight.
Did you see the speculation on Secret Avengers 19?
Secret Avengers?
Secret Avengers 19, the first appearance of Mr. Knight.
Oh.
No, I did not see that. No.
Cool.
Spider-Man 2099. Everybody likes that frame joint, the one to the far right. Some Star Wars 26.
Hello.
Everybody's been loving those action figure variants and the Choose Your Destiny. The X-Force, Axe. And then the Judgment Day X-Men. People like that Sokoa.
Look at the trading card variant. That's awesome.
Sir.
I like the Phoenix one. Phoenix cover.
Yeah, and for those that aren't tracking, now Firestarter and Iceman, they are now joining the X-Men together, which is making some of the old Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends #1 freaking it's making it pop off.
Really?
Wait, Firestar's joining the X-Men?
Yeah. With the Hellfire Gala #1. The new team is revealed.
Oh, Hellfire, yeah. I got halfway through that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's
spoilers.
see.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert!
All right, coming soon, coming out this week. Alien Stellato.
I kind of like the Alien book, by the way. I was just saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's good. It's good, man. Especially if you team it up with the video game, it's amazing.
Didn't
Alien-
Dark Horse do that already? I'm not the smartest there.
Hey, but shh! I'm trying to grab those up for the sheet.
All right.
Defenders #1 Beyond. Defenders Beyond #1. And there's several ones, and then that is it. Those are the ones that we as speculators pulled out and say, oh, these are actually might be pretty good to
That
pull out.
character with the white uniform on Defenders #1 there, is he trying out the new Bengals uniform?
That looks like the Beyond. That's the Beyonder, Johnny. That's the
Oh,
Beyonder.
not the Beyonder. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but some of these were actually pulled later. Miles Morales Spider-Man, the Predator joint. And then there's a Shang-Chi art germ. There's a 1/100 of that one.
Is that Germ still rocking it? Because I've seen a couple of covers recently, and I haven't been that impressed. The Hellcat Annual one, for example.
Yeah, nobody. He's spread too thin.
Whoa! Woo! Stop the press.
Yes, sir. The Gwenverse Greg Land homage.
You could color her hair red, and it would be Mary Jane. They could have 2 different covers.
You could cover that white, and it could be Felicia.
You could have 3 different covers. They all look the same.
Yeah, they've literally been doing a whole bunch of homages on the same cover, which is a homage to her first appearance, which was the Greg Land, which is like a $3,000 book. And they just say, well, if it worked once, it'll work 27,000 times. All right?
That sounds like Thor 4.
And lastly, Star Wars #25. There's an Alex Maleev, which is like a 1/25, and then one to the right is the black current Tan Solo Chewbacca, the black current stand. And that, sirs, is the 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute warning.
Well, it's nice to look ahead to see what's coming up. So maybe we review some of those books coming up. All right, so thank you for hanging out with us on in the middle of July when I'm sure you have other things to do. But enjoy, and we will be back probably at the end of the month to talk more comics.
Hey,
and we will see you then. Until then, stay safe.
Adios.